Good afternoon, everyone. I am Vasundhara, and on behalf of Shine.com, I welcome all of you to Shine Power Perspectives today. Shine Power Perspectives is a first of its kind virtual debate series on issues that matter to the HR community. Top HR leaders will share their views with the audience about various trending HR topics in a rapid fire mode, which will be for or against the topics. Now, what's the difference? So it's you who will be deciding the topic. To make this event experience exceptionally interactive for you, we are also introducing a new segment, Mystery Topic, which will let you know, which will let our audience choose a topic of their own choice from a poll, which will be conducted during the event. Not only this, you will also get a chance to interact with the speakers on every issue with a short Q&A. Now, I would like to introduce our panelist for today, Ms. Vishnu Prayal, Site HR Head at Aftech CK Birla Group, Ms. Kiranmai Pendala, Head of Human Resources, Western Digital, Ms. Malini Lakshman, Assistant General Manager HR at Syngene International Limited, Mr. Majid Khan, Head Strategic Resourcing at Emphasis, Ms. Surabhi Nikumba, AVP HR at Jiske Devrient, Mr. Venkatesh Neelam, Manager Recruitment at Volvo Group. Thank you everyone for joining us today at Shine Power Perspectives. It's an honor to have you all here as a panelist. Now I would like to introduce our first topic for the debate, and each speaker will get 2 minutes each to share their views. Audience can ask questions in Q&A option related to the topic. So our first topic is 4 days working versus 5 days working. So here we go for the debate. Mr. Venkatesh, let's start with you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Vasudha, as well, and thanks for invite. See, very brief from my side. I have done a lot of research on this as well. In fact, we also expanded some of the countries looking at this option. The problem is coming to country like India. So if you go for US or European countries, if you work for in staff 40 hours in a week, so they want to make it into four.
Sorry to interrupt in between. Sir, little louder. People are not able to hear you.
Okay, is it better now? Yeah,
Yes.
if you go for European countries or US countries, you might have seen that they work for weekly 40 hours. So they want to make it into 4 days and 10 hours in a day and finish it 40 weeks, 40 hours in a week. But the problem is Indian kind of scenario. We also work on most in consulting firm and the IT consulting side or delivery model. So we're required to support more number of hours, more number of days. It is not that only we work for fixed amount of work, so it's more kind of delivery center kind of India what we live in. So it's kind of some of the days you might feel that still some of the companies operating 6 days also because I have to support the customers, on 24/7 something. So when you see this kind of model and coming to Indian ecosystem or infrastructure side, so we are not ready or not ready there at. So although yeah, we almost due to this lockdown, we are slogging, weekly 45 hours is mandatory week for most other companies. To finish those 45 hours in a week, it comes into 4 days, it will become too much challenge. The person has to work for at least 12 hours, 13 hours in a day. That will be highly impossible thing. So at least the Indian ecosystem is not ready for that space. Yes, there are some developing countries like Netherlands or European side, or if you go for US also. So they are actually very, frequently more like development projects or some R&D side. Yes, those people actually will get more flexibility. It actually both advantage during day also. If you go for advantage, yes, employee will get benefit here, more work-life balance, and they can spend a lot of time with family. But if you go for employer side, when you go for customers interaction or some other kind of interface kind of roles, it is very difficult to manage for any organization. So that's where actually maybe my personal opinion that, and we also tried some of the areas. Is something not worked on India model at 5 days a week, sorry, 4 days a week. But as of now, at least it will take at least around 4 to 5 years time to come to that range. Because I remember in early 20s when we go that 5 days a week when we started, there are a lot of accident happened, a lot of people. But slowly we acquired that kind of competency or skills to perform. But now we are not ready there for 4 days. So at least we require some time to competency skills acquire. Then we can able to perform jobs well. That is my opinion.
Miss Surabhi?
Thanks, Vasundhara, and thanks, Venkatesh. It was a well put out perspective from an Indian industry scenario. But I'd like to focus on the responsibility we as corporates also have, right? So as corporates, it's our responsibility to look at our counterparts across the globe, bringing their best practices in India. So that's where I feel countries like, he mentioned Netherlands, Sweden, Spain has already introduced. There are companies like Japan, which is known for long work week hours. Microsoft did a smaller, shorter week, and they saw an increase in productivity. Similarly, in India, we have made various examples. I think Burko was another, is the first Indian company. We started this in 2017 when there was nothing which was happening even globally. So we have good examples there. Um, the other part is, today, in today's time, if I look at, flexibility is what a lot of us are looking out at, including this, and this pandemic has kind of increased it. If you look at companies like Swiggy, Oyo, during these times, they have already done a 4-day work week to provide flexibility to people. Saying that, I agree that we need an ecosystem to support this model, right? If the government says that no, 40 hours work week is sacrosanct, there are people who can't work 10 hours a day and complete 40 hours. And we all know 40 hours is not just 40 hours, it will extend. We need our leaders, our managers, our customers to get acquainted to that work week model. Let's say I'm working 4 day and my customer is working on the fifth day, and throughout the day I'm logged on and supporting my customer or my client. So that doesn't solve the purpose. So like, that's what I'm trying to say, is we need an ecosystem to support this change, and the ecosystem will be brought in by corporates like us when we introduce this model and we show the success. We show how the productivity has increased. We show how giving flexibility to employees. Let's say a working mother will not like to work 10 hours every day. She'll probably like to work 5 days a week. There's a person who wants to do education, who wants to support another hobby. um he or she can like to pursue a 4-day work week. So we have to give that flexibility to employees. And we all know, as HR leaders, we have seen this Gen Z, this millennial, uh, asking for flexibility more than anything else. So I think that's my point. We need to promote it. We need to, and this promotion needs to be backed by data and the ecosystem, both from a labor law perspective and from a mindset in the organization perspective. So that's from my point. Thanks.
So, Ms. Vishnu, would you like to join Ms. Surabhi with your comments?
Sure, sure, sure. And beautiful comments put by both Venkatesh and Surbi. And I'm not going to touch upon data and statistics. I think they already did there, talking about how European countries have adapted, and then they are really showing productivity and efficiency out of it. Uh, Talking more on how do we get this to India, I think that is where we need to put our thought process forward. And we all, we are a good chunk of people listening to this, thinking about it. I think we need to put this back on the table of business leaders, get them aligned. Why not do a trial session? Why not do an experiment with a smaller group of people, and then take customer feedback and then get the data and support the business with that particular thing? So I would say a realistic approach, show this is possible. Like, for example, we never thought this remote working before COVID can actually come into place, in a sector like manufacturing. But today, if you see, 50% of the manufacturing population is sitting at home with the laptops on their laps and trying to support business. So things are changing. We need to change, and we are the change drivers, as we all know, right? So my 2 cents would be, uh, I wouldn't say a 3-day long weekend will work in Indian context. Absolutely no. It's we all know how we work, right? At the same time, I rather recommend, let's reduce the number of work hours from 8 hours to 6 hours, right? And normally, what we do as on the personal side, we push all our personal commitments towards our weekend. So that really causes imbalance in our family itself. So why not take a 6 hours work and then kind of take both of these things in harmony, and at the end of the day you're kind of balancing work, you're kind of balancing family, at the same time keeping your business safe. So these are 2 cents from my side on supporting. Yes, we should go for 4 hours working.
Ms. Kiranmai, your inputs on the topic?
Sure, Vasundhara. Good evening, everyone. It's beautiful. I mean, just as we are as many people, I think we'll also have as many perspectives. But I'm reminded of Einstein's quote, where he refers to, if we had 1 hour to look at the problem, I think 55 minutes we will be spending on the problem itself, and 5 minutes perhaps on the solution. I think that's a human psyche. So on this one, is it 4-day working week or a 5-day working week or a 6-day working week and so on? We can have multiple perspectives. What really helps is, if I take a step back, what is really relevant for the country? What is our demographic dividend? We're quoting Netherlands, we're quoting Japan, we're quoting different. There is a scenario, there's a situation given the number of people who are to be employed, because unless you have meaningful engagement of the individuals who are physically and mentally agile, then the country will have other repercussions or problems. So we should have to look at it from a socio-political and economic macro view and say what really fits the bill in terms of, then comes the industry segment. Which industry segment would benefit from such a measure of a 4-day working week or a 5-day working week or a 6-day working week, right? I think all of us know that at least a day has to be given off as a break. That is somehow hardwired into all of us. So I would take a step back and say, everything seems to work fine as long as it makes sense in the larger canvas of who is the market segment we're catering to, what problem are we trying to solve. So if we understand what problem we're trying to solve, I think any of these would work. And as Vishnu said, I think it's not about 4 hours or 6 hours in a day, flexibility. I mean, great points. But I think the canvas on which I would like to paint this is more of what is the real problem we're trying to solve by picking up this argument. So depending on what problem I'm solving, I mean, either of these would fit the bill. Thank you.
Mr. Khan, your inputs? Mr. Khan, you're on mute.
Right.
So there is some audio issue at your end.
No, myself. Am I?
Yeah, now you're audible.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So yeah, very important points being called out by all my co-panelists. See, the way we say, right, one size does not fit all. So this concept about work regime of 4 days in a week or 5 days in a week, again, is something which cannot really be used across all different industries, right? So if you ask me honestly, look at the ITES world or the IT services world, right? And how these two industries actually have helped the Indian economy to thrive to a level where it is today, right? All of these things actually started with an idea where they wanted to run after a geography where the talent is available, and not just the talent is available, but the talent is also available at a cheaper rate, at a cheaper cost. So it was all about cost optimization. It was all about cost arbitrage. And if I am an HR guy who's wearing the hat of a businessman, if I have to think about best productivity through optimization, and if I think 4-day working would work for me, so be it. And I've got strong reasons for that, right? Let me take an example of one of the business units that I manage from talent acquisition standpoint, which is nothing but contact center business. Here, if at all, I look at my inflow, and if I look at the trend of my inflow of volume of work, and if I see that out of these 7 days in a week, these are the 4 days where the volumes are really going to be on the higher side. And if I have to only make my people work for 40 hours in a week, And if I make them work for 4 days in a week, and if they are able to take care of the volume which is going to come in those days, I think this 4-day work regime will work wonders for me. Not just in terms of increasing my productivity levels, but also in terms of keeping my people engaged, also in terms of making them thrive in terms of their performance, which is going to be on the higher side. And if at all some of these things work really well for us, and if there are no work which is getting abandoned, or there is no delay, or we are not really allowing any backlog to get piled on, I think it works for the business also overall. And that is why, as I said, it is very, very dependent on the industry where you would want to apply this methodology, and one needs to be really conscious of that, and you can really make it work for yourself if at all it suits your business models.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Malini?
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And thanks, Vasundhara, for inviting me in. I think I was the lucky one to have heard all my co-panelists to get their views. I think the main and very few important points that everybody's touched upon is, is it really relevant in today's era of a 4-day versus a 5-day? I think Kiran touched on a very important point, saying what are we trying to prove? What is our agenda on that? So if you take about all that and a little step back on how we really evolved in this industry, we actually moved from a 6-day working manufacturing setup to a 5-day working today. And it has given so much of flexibility with the same kind of productivity probably being achieved. Have we already reached a stage to go on a 4 work day? I think it is all basis the industry that we are going to be working into, and it's I feel there's a still long way to go through. Primarily because I think we have culturally yet to achieve the mindset saying when we are talking about a 4-day, it does not. It is a 4-day, and we give our all our hours to the work. If you look back on the research, when you talk about an 8-hour schedule, the maximum span of productivity that we really achieve in a day for an 8-hour schedule is just about 4.5 hours. But even if we round it out, is 5 hours. So we really don't achieve unless there are clear principles and processes around it. Secondly, our the ecosystem is yet to evolve a lot more on those lines. And ecosystem not specifically limited to the office environment, but even the house environment, saying can people really stretch for about 10 hours? Because we're all talking about with the mindset saying that, okay, if it's 9 hours schedule, they all come back to 10 hours schedule. But is that really a doable thing? I don't think so. I think we are a long way to go achieve that, aspect of saying that we work only with the deliverables and not specific to ours. Many of our industries today are so time bound, and some of my colleagues out here who are there from a manufacturing setup, and productivity is not achieved in a 4-day span. So it's all something that we'll have to look at the industry. And I think from a rules perspective or a compliance perspective, there's another road to achieve, and we are far away from that. So my view is, I think instead of resolving the issue of a 4-day and a 5-day, yes, 5 days working greatly, but we also see the side effects of it over the weekend. Some work comes in, etc. So it's more about what are we trying to achieve and what best suits the country or the industry that we are working in. That's where I would share my views.
Great. So that was the interesting topic that we discussed. For the audience, I would like to say that we are open for the Q&A, and speakers will answer your questions in some time. Now let's move to the second topic, which is experience versus skills, which will be given more importance while hiring in future. And here we go for a debate with our panel. So let's start with Mr. Khan.
Thank you, Vasundhara. So it is very important again to understand what is experience, right? If you ask me honestly, for me, experience is nothing but an accumulation of various instances, various scenarios and circumstances that you must have come across in your life, be it at work or outside work in your personal spheres, right? So that is experience for me. Again, the question is what is important, right? So the way I said, one size might not really fit all. Again, at all the places, you might not really consider one above the other one. It is very important for an individual or an organization to decide which role requires experience, which role does not really require an experience. And if I'm talking for experience, I would rather focus on areas or positions where experience really plays an important role. Let us take an example, leadership, right? There are certain positions where you have to find somebody who has gone through a lot in his life or in her life. Let me give you an example. I was reading an article, many years ago about how generally these CEOs or MDs switch jobs from one organization to another. Do they actually get interviewed? The answer is yes, they get interviewed. But what do they talk about during the interview that they go through? Do they talk about all the laurels that they must have won in their life? Do they talk about all the wins that they would have got in their life? Do they talk about all the success stories? In many cases, the answer is no, because all of those things for a CEO is out there in the public domain. You can look at the scorecard and the financial reports of those organizations to know how the CEO was conducting himself in the previous organization. What people are more interested to know from a leader is, did he or she ever come across a failure? And if that leader has failed in the past, how did that leader come out of that situation and still, face the world, right? And that can happen only when you gain experience, right? So if you ask me, my take would always be that look at what role you are hiring for, which position you want to target for a given set of audience, and then finally decide whether you want to go for experience or just the skill set. And if at all it is about certain key positions in the leadership cadre, experience definitely holds a very, very important place. And it's also about how somebody would have lived his day, throughout the life, depending upon the kind of scenarios and situations that he or she must have come across, and how he would have or she would have dealt with those. And that is where experience becomes very important. Thank you.
Ms. Vishnu, would you like to continue?
Yes. Okay, I would take up one. Just recently, I read this statement. I really liked it. So when you hire for experience, you're hiring someone's past, right? And that might give you what you want, some situations and etc. Now, when you hire someone's skill set, you're hiring for the future. So I really like this particular statement, and I would talk more on the skill set piece here. The way I would like to put is, of course, experience is very, very important, especially when Majid talked about leadership hiring. It is in small success stories that each one carries, and how he has come out and how he has tackled the situation, whether it is manpower, whether it is supply chain issues that he has tackled in his earlier profession, etc. But let's say in current scenario, we are sitting here, we are trying to tackle the situation of COVID at all levels. I'm sure all of us are trying to see what is best possible in this situation. In this particular scenario, nature has given us such a challenge that there is no experience. You cannot hire an experienced person to tackle COVID in your organization. So what you really need in this particular situation, your supply chain has gone for a toss. Your manpower budget last year, FY21, FY22 is absolutely is tangent. We don't have any clue on how we are going to put the revised manpower in place. So I believe this particular area, you need skill set to manage. This is a situation which is disrupted. Everywhere it is uncertain here. There we are trying to work out every HR strategy in a revised mode: new normal retention strategy, new normal recruitment, new normal engagement strategy, right? So things have all changed. So I would really say, let's kind of get that skill set. Like, I don't want to quote much examples, but we have hired a lot of guys with less experience, but they've managed pretty well in their leadership roles. So when we have doubts on, okay, you don't have a 2-digit experience number in your CV, but in my experience, when we have hired people doubting, a person with hunger, a person who wants to succeed, wants to kind of show to the organization, yes, it is possible at my age. I believe many of them have proved back to us saying that, yes, you've given me a chance, look at it, and I've proved it. So our business leader, he is just 40 years old and he's able to manage such a large empire. So when we hired him, it was a lot of questions, a lot of doubts. But in some areas, it kind of just comes through. So certain areas as HRs, we need to take risk. We need to go with what is required for your market. How do we tackle the situation which is uncertain in nature? And that is my submission for skill set here. Thank you.
Ms. Surabhi, your inputs?
Sure. Lovely inputs, Vishnu. Really liked the COVID, how it has disrupted. That example really fits the bill, and I'll kind of extend it from there. I'm a Gallup certified coach, and Gallup focuses on strengths of individuals, and I've coached more than X number of people across various businesses. And I have, of course, I'm not debating experience versus skill here, but what first they said and what I learned from my practice also was the innate skill of an individual. Typically when we are entering college or when we are out of college, the skill set, the softer skills, the behavioral skills which we learn at that time stays on with us for a longer time, and that's what kind of translates when we are proven to be a good leader, or in these situations like COVID, when we really want our leaders, our employees to be more empathetic, to be more adaptive to these changing environments. We see these people actually coming up and really adapting to a virtual world in industries like us where there was no scope of working virtually, or helping people out of their way. There's an 8-hour work, 10-hour work. Still, they are part of our COVID team and are supporting people, arranging for beds, for concentrators, for oxygens, going out and out without by risking themselves and being philanthropic. So these are the skill sets which I feel, and hence I feel skill set is actually more important. So the other part also is skill set. Why I prefer to hire more on skill than experience is also because skill set development needs more active development. Experience is like, we are passively accumulating this over time. And in our industry, when there is an attrition, when somebody leaves, so if it is a person with experience, of course there is a loss, but still I think to an extent we can run smoothly. But if it is a skilled individual who has all the innate skills required to do that job, which means that the service is disrupted. So this is where I feel skill has to be given more importance on while we are hiring people. How our when we write job descriptions, when we publish advertisements, when we are looking out in a profile, plus when we are interviewing people across skill sets, across businesses, I think we need, as an industry, as leaders, we need to be equally educated on how do we judge these skill sets. But I would like to just add on the experience point. When we are hiring specific people, I'll not talk about leaders here because that point has been spoken about, but more about people like surgeons. I've worked in a pharma and healthcare industry, but when I'm looking at a surgeon to hire, when I'm looking at a pilot to hire, I'll of course go at experience, because I would need myself to be operated on by an experienced surgeon who knows the my bone structure of my body the best, right? So that's where experience is equally important. And but having an empathetic doctor, having a doctor who listens to me, these are the skill sets which I would look also for when I'm going out for, God forbid, if something comes in and I'm going to meet a doctor there. So that's my 2 cents on experience versus skill.
Thanks for sharing the inputs. They were really very helpful. Let's start with Venkatesh. Your inputs.
Yeah, great shares and very good examples as well. It's very articulate things and all. My side, if you see the stories in past, most of them actually, if you see current generation, a lot of startups you see, a lot of different industry people coming in, a lot of education sector or teams or MBA students, everything. So they don't have any prior experience, but they're doing wonders. So it is not about that, as most of them feel that experiences matters, but actually, in my personal opinion, in fact, I am part of hiring of leadership things and all. At least 70% of the positions what we hire, we don't look at experience range. So we give a problem statement who can solve the problem. You guys just come and join with us. But at least I see 30% of positions, although they can may solve the problems, but they can't articulate what happened in the past and how to deal those things. Yeah, they might deal things better way, but still they may do errors. So we need certain kind of roles actually who can able to has past experience and can play this kind of activities. But if you go for some of the areas where right now the industry looking like, because everything getting changed every decade of 5 years now, so we cannot depend on same thing what happened in past, but same time we require most of who can able to take decisions in faster way. So that's where I see the skills are playing bigger role. But although at least in the industries, if you see at least out of 10 startups, only a 2 or 3 able to make it, or at least profitable stage. But a lot of experienced industry also, most of the leadership roles, no one go take like some kind of fresher or an experienced person. So they are dealing with this kind of a little thin layer here, how to actually make experience versus skill who can better job. But thing is that the percentage of you see the competency versus skill and all, that's where I see at least 70 to 80% people are going by skill. Any company, not only in a Volvo or other company, and at least most of the startups also proven that way. At least 20% only can successful if you go without experience. But yeah, skills are matters, and I can say 80-20 percentage can able to play a bigger role.
Ms. Kiranmai, would you like to add some points?
Sure, Vasundhara. Again, very, very interesting, right? Each one is speaking into, from their heart, as well as the logic of what they have witnessed and experienced, each one of us, right? I would look at a couple of things. One is, before we say, should I vote for a skill or should I vote for an experience? I think we should look at it holistically once again and say, role. The role which we are looking at in a given industry will determine whether I should play for the experience card, or should I play for skills, or should it be a blending of both? So I think role determines what am I looking for. Now, having said that, we've also seen a lot of trends, a lot of shifts. We're talking, if I'm going to battle for skills, what are we talking about today? What kind of skills are we referring to? I know lovely, Surabhi referred to the soft skills, the behavioral skills, and so on. But skills could be domain skills, technical skills, which you and I know are very, very volatile, or they're going to vanish. That means what is relevant today as a skill is no longer relevant tomorrow. So for me, I would look at two major things. One is the supply and demand equation in the markets. We are talent markets, right? So if the supply is more of experienced individuals, I'm going to take them more depending on my ramp stage, right? If the supply is more of skill set, people with skills, demographic dividend, I'm going to, it's easy for me to hire and attract. So I think there is that larger play which we also have to look at in terms of what determines, where do we position ourselves. Now, having said that, I'm also looking at, so one is role, the other is we talk about skills can be, ever disappearing. Most important ingredient, I would say, I would look for, irrespective of which industry, is the learnability quotient, open to learning, right? So if some individual I'm hiring is open to learning, then whatever skills he or she has, I know I can reshape room to grow based on the need of my industry or the product or service or whatever I'm going to offer. Similarly, even an experienced, so-called experienced candidate, if he or she is not open to learning, it's like dead wood. I don't think it's of much relevance. So again, I would really battle more for open to learning or learnability quotient, and supply and demand will determine how I attract talent and retain talent.
Mr. Khan, your inputs?
Yeah, so Vasundhara, this takes me back to the point where actually we started thinking about how somebody's behavior and that to an extent where somebody would have put across a given type of behavior in a given situation will many a times decide how he or she will behave in future in a similar kind of situation or a scenario, right? And that is how the behavioral technique of conducting interviews or evaluating people actually works for many of us, right? We ask people, tell me about the situation, give me a scenario, give me an example. So when we are talking about some of these things, what we are hitting on is nothing but experience, right? These soft skills or human skills cannot come without experience, right? Even when we are talking about skills, be it about a domain or a technology, let us ask this question to ourselves. Do we straight away put everybody onto the job directly from the college? In most of the cases, the answer would be no. Even if we go to campuses and we hire 10,000 people every year, not everybody is put onto the job on the day one. They go through a rigorous training program and they are made to learn, they are made to perform certain things on the job, and that is when they get going with their work. Many a times when we do hiring for lateral roles, we always put some level of experience in the job descriptions. So no job description is ever made for a lateral hiring without quote unquote experience, right? Even if it is for 2 years or 3 years, but we still call that out. And that is where it is very important for us to understand and differentiate. Are these substitutes to each other, or both of these can be coupled together in the right proportion for us to get the right kind of talent that we want for a given job? So this is my submission, Vasundhara, on skill versus experience.
Thank you. Now it's time to start a poll around the mystery
Hey,
topic.
I don't think we've heard from Malini.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
No worries. I'll just put my 2 cents in. I think, with the quote of, life can be understood backwards, but needs to be lived forward. So it's striking a balance between the skills and experience. If we are to look at an organization perspective, we all work towards building a pyramid. What does that pyramid mean? It's the topmost of the peak of the pyramid is talking about somebody who has seen it all, who has the experience of leading the organization. Whereas we go down to the bottommost section of the pyramid, we are only talking about people who can help grow the organization with their skill set. So I think every organization has to have a right balance. What that pyramid percentage could be is dependent totally towards the organization. While skills bring a lot of value add, and it also talks about generations, gets related to generations, etc. What the value add for experiences about adaptability and somebody who has probably seen success and failures, not necessarily in the specific skill set, but as with their experience has seen it through and helps move the organization forward. So I think what we have to primarily look at it is what really is important for the organization. And I believe that it has to be a combination of skill and experience with the right intention, because experienced people come up with some good intuitions, which probably the skilled people will may not be able to think on those lines. And like some of the people talked about here is about the soft skills, which matter a lot, because skills can be very limited to technology, or it could be limited to the the skill set that they are, whether if it is in the manufacturing industry. So I would believe that it has to be a combination of both, and experienced people could also be upgraded on that. So perfectly right balance matters a lot. So that's my submission to this.
Thank you, ma'am. I think the inputs from all the panelists were very useful for our audience. Moving forward, let's start with the poll, where I would request audience to please vote for the topic, and our panelist will answer that question. At 1 minute, we'll stop the poll. So request everyone to please vote. So there is a tie between, does remote working increase productivity, or will location be a factor while hiring candidates? So I will relaunch this poll, and this time I'll also allow panelists to vote. Again, the poll will be available only for 1 minute, requesting everyone to please vote. So let's end the poll now. So our panelist will be addressing the question, does remote working increase productivity? So let's begin with Ms. Surabhi.
Thanks, Vasundhara. Interesting topic, and while and I'm seeing this as a need coming out by the candidates when I'm trying to hire them. Will I be allowed to work from multiple locations from my hometown? And I'll again, like the other two questions, I'll talk about the need to balance it out. So right now we see people looking out for higher flexibility because they have to attend to childcare needs, they have to attend to parents. This is the need of the hour, but also I need to look at the business, the model of the business. If we are working in IT industry where remote working has been a practice, where remote working is not a constraint to perform, it's completely fine. But if I talk about my industry, we are into currency technology and we are into this machines which helps bank in managing their entire currency processing. I can't be remote. I head the HR, the R&D team here. My R&D engineers can't be working on machines at their home location. We have done that During the pandemic, we have provided people with machines. But end of the day, all these people, all these engineers need to come together in a room to brainstorm to make the end product effective, right? In a manufacturing, it can't happen. So remote working works uh, depending on the industry requirement. Second, also let's look at the employee and their engagement part of it. As human beings, we are social animals, right? We need to talk to people, we need to discuss things, we need each other to support ourselves, uh, you know, emotionally and socially. And these needs get fulfilled when we talk to our co-colleagues, when we talk to our co-workers. So that's where I feel remote working has its own set of constraints, and I'm not a complete supporter of it, but a fair balance is what I'm looking at. Allow people to work a couple of days across week, or when there is a need for childcare, when there is a need for helping exams. So let's look at the situations and evolve our working style.
Thank you, ma'am. Would request other panelists to please share one-liner input now because we are running out of time and we also have to cope up with Q&A. Ms. Vishnu, your inputs.
Yeah, so of course, I'll go with what Surbhi just mentioned. You'll have to go as per industry. I cannot expect a manufacturing operator to sit at home and try to make parts for me. So it is mandatory, and he has to come to the plant, and we'll take care. But in the same area, not all in the organization needs to come to plant, right? So there are IT sectors, there are HR, there are areas where purchasing team, you can divide. You can actually, the way we are currently working, the model currently is working well. It doesn't impact productivity. Of course, the sale happens. The sales team is working remotely, but the invoicing goes on time. Purchasing happens. It is happening sitting at home. So I believe even in the same industry that we can work, we can still figure out without impacting productivity. We can. So I am for going, I am for this. I would say it that way. Keeping that mindset where it is required. Yes, people need to come in, no compromise. At the same time, you can manage both. So balance between both. Thank you.
Ms. Malini.
Okay. I would take this question as something that where people have already been identified to work in a work from home situation or remote working, and if does the productivity efficient and increased. I think the last 1 year in my own organization, it has proved that it has been very, very efficient and productive. There has, of course, there were initial glitches because the entire organization has never been accustomed to a permanent work from home. Now it's been almost about, I would say, roughly about 15 months that we are all working remotely. Has it moved? Has the needle moved forward? Absolutely, yes. So I think I'll, on that aspect where people are identified and their roles permit them to work from home. It's been a great success, and I have also read similar research data for organizations who have been working on those lines. Of course, when you touch upon like the manufacturing industry or even the industry like the clinical research where people are expected to work in labs, work from home is a pointless game, and it's only an interim stint. So I believe that if you're looking at only the sectors of working from home, it's been a great success. Just that a mindset and the culturally, we have to transform ourselves and evolve ourselves towards it. That's my 2 cents to it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kiranmai.
One thing which comes to my mind is Ati Sarvatra Varjayet. What does that mean? Anything which you stretch to an extent. I completely agree with what Malini said. Sector-based, role-based, it works beautifully. But at the same time, we have seen in the industries we are part of, where it allows, it is also creating a vacuum and a void in terms of the socializing, the innovation, the creativity, which occurs when you have those informal connect points and you're able to actually see people in flesh and blood. So we also have to look at it. If it's for a certain period, it works beautifully. But if it's forced and you don't have a choice and you have to be locked in, like the current situation we're all in, I think we're all eager to get out and go meet people, hug people, whatever. I mean, in a sense, it's that innate social need of human beings ultimately, which also has to be taken into account. So if you're talking about remote working, ARCA flexibility, I think that's brilliant. Wherever it's possible, whichever sector and whichever role it is made possible, that power has to be extended to the employees. I think that is brilliant, but it can't be always either you work remotely or you don't. Hybrid work models are evolving in majority of the industries and sectors. I think once that comes in, you will see people are more engaged and very happy. Thank you.
Mr. Khan, moving to you.
Thank you, Vasundhara. Very interesting topic and a lot of good inputs from everybody. See, I'll tell you one thing that we all need to understand is that we should not really misunderstand work from home as work 24/7. The moment we kind of realize and understand that, that is when we are actually sorted. No doubt that certain studies and certain anecdotal facts have proven that productivity levels have gone up in certain industries with remote working, and we all agree with that. I personally agree with that. You know, if you talk about IT services or ITES, definitely it has helped, right? Because people, so I'll tell you, not just the productivity, Vasundhara, but also organizations are able to save a lot of money, right, against their revenue. So the core levels have gone down, productivity levels have gone up, gross margins have gone up, profitability has gone up. So some of these things are working well for the organizations. But again, is it something which is industry agnostic? The answer is no. You can't really use it everywhere. So I agree with all the points made by my co-panelists that you need to really decide which sector to target, which industry to target, right? Can you imagine, let us talk about today's situation, COVID patients. Can they really, if they are critical, be treated from home? The answer is no, they have to be taken to the hospital. Can you expect that doctor to sit at home and treat that patient? The answer is no. If somebody requires a ventilator, obviously that person has to be put in those wards. So it cannot really be one rule which can be applicable to all the possible areas. But yeah, the answer is that, yeah, in certain areas it has worked. In certain areas, it is obviously not feasible.
Mr. Venkatesh.
Yeah, it was great thoughts. Most of things already covered. Just a couple of points my side. Yes, it is helping almost 80% of the IT industry, but it's impacting almost 20 to 30% of the other industries and all. But if you see the longer run, this is going to be increase in every sector. How do you manage in different aspect to see? That is a different scenario. But yeah, everyone has to prepare to work remotely for some time, maybe in future also. But we are losing social life. But I don't know how companies are coming up, and everyone is trying to build some culture and different aspect to see the branding part. There are so many challenges because no one actually given time to COVID. It's overnight change. We are not ready for that, to be frank. But although people say yes, I work from home, but I don't know how long people can survive with that. So we need actually mix of things to be manageable. But yeah, in my point of view, at least weekly 2 or 3 days to connect all people face to face, it will solve the purpose. But again, if you go for longer hours working from home, I'm telling you, there are so many learning curve. People how they learn, right? So most of the things face to face, that's completely washed out. We all were learning how long it learning curves and moving virtually. It's very difficult to say. But yeah, we have to come up with some kind of different problem statements and solutions for this. But yeah, I can say 50-50 for now, but we need to see how can we adapt to this culture and move accordingly.
Thank you. And it seems that our audience has really enjoyed the session. We are already getting a lot of compliments from the audience. Now let's address some questions. Maybe we'll extend the event for next 10 minutes because we are already done with time. The first question is 4 or 5 days will not be possible for core sector, engineering, constructions and manufacturing sector where the billing is done mostly in Indian rupees, where the net profit is around 7 to 8%. In addition to delayed payments, whereas the net profit for IT companies, the net profit is around 25% or more due to dollar billing. So, any comments? That's more of a statement than a question.
Actually, in the meantime, I know time is running out. I have answered few questions virtually, but yeah, I can take up something in this in case something comes up. But this is more statement. Yes, we agree. Net profit is increasing, so we need to continue the same.
Okay, so let's
What
move
I
to
would say,
other
no,
questions.
Vasundhara, I think it's a nature of the industry as they have clearly compared and talked about a construction brick and mortar company versus an ITES, right? It's not just about whether it's US dollars or Indian rupees, because even some of these industries can, earn in dollars. It all depends on where you market, what kind of customers you're seeking. So I don't think that's the relevance. The scoping should be more in terms of the nature of the industry, like essential commodities, right? The margins are very low. Or perishable commodities, margins are very low. So gross margins is only when you create an innovative product line, then you're going to make huge. I mean, you're talking about an Apple iPhone. Now that product, I mean, somebody will say, hey, it doesn't even cost $50, but it's going to be priced at $700 or $800. So we will have to understand what is aspirational piece. Why are people ready to pay more for a service or a product, right? That's where the brand consciousness also comes in. Just wanted to put it out there.
Thank you. Thanks for inputs. There is another question from Taufik Mullah. In Norway, one survey report showed that 4 days a week gives higher productivity than 5 days a week. So when we Indians focused more on productivity than number of hours of work, what panelists think over productivity against number of hours? Second, if we move to 4 days a week, people spend more time with family and less workaholic, less stress, good work-life balance. Any thoughts?
I will definitely, I have some very clear opinions. I'm sure Mazid and others also want to go. See, we're talking about a Norway and an India. Please, I want anyone who is comparing also to go and look what is the density of population in Norway and what is the population in India. That makes a huge difference. So when you talk about productivity, you also have to keep in mind what is the need of the hour in terms of people who need to be employed and how do you keep them engaged. A. The second one is when you're referring to 4 days working week, we'll give you work-life balance, you will spend quality time with family. You're assuming that there is harmonious and equal based relationships among, the cohabitants, right? We have witnessed from the NGO wing I work with, very clearly there has been a lot of domestic abuse and violence has been on the rise during this pandemic. What it relates is, since people are all at home and they're spending more time, okay, even if they're working, but that didn't help them in terms of harmony or synchronization, right? So it all depends on whether they have a healthy relationship or not. And I think we have also changed our mindset to not the quantity of time we spend, because that's a choice we've made in terms of work or spending hours on career. It's more about the quality of life. I'll rest the case. Over to
Very true.
others.
And also, just to add on, like I spoke about this part, the overall, socioeconomic part of it. In our country, the government has very clearly said the 40-hour work week is sacrosanct, which what it means is 4 days I'm working 10 hours a day, right? If I'm a child care provider, if we are a nuclear family and both of us have to attend to all the needs, look at how my whole world is going, how my work-life balance is going. So, like Kiranme rightly said, we need to look at the countries we are comparing with. I can't compare Norway with India today, but like the best practices need to be evolved at when few companies come up with a good model, probably across years, depending on the concentration within industries, the government will have to change their laws, put in some guidelines to support this model, look at shorter weeks. That's where we achieve success. Right now, let's not compare apple to oranges.
Yeah,
See,
and just
I,
one point which I would like to add, saying yes, Norway research does say that, but that's also limited to a very specific industry. It is not across industries. So I think again, the comparison to be on the similar industries, I don't think, as a country, we can live on those lines of 4-day week, and the 3 days is something that we don't bother. So I think we have to evolve a long, long way to go, and only then we see something on those lines.
Right. So one sense from me also, Vasundhara, and the audience from where the question came, right? Although I was all for 4 days of working, but that was focused towards one particular type of area that I was addressing. If you ask me from the bottom of my heart, I think if at all you place yourself in the seat of an entrepreneur who's supposed to run the organization or the business, right? And if it is your business, you will always say ye dil mange more, right? And that's the idea. You would always want to do little more for you to earn something extra. As they say, when you walk an extra mile, the traffic is actually not there, right? If you are on the highways, you will really find nobody to compete with, right? You will be much ahead of the curve in comparison to the others. So if you are a businessman and if you are an entrepreneur, you will always think about doing little more for you to generate more income and more revenue for yourself. And I think this applies to the organizations also, because not all the organizations are only here to make profits. They are also here to serve the society, and through those organizations, many families are able to earn their livings. So keeping all of those in mind, I think it is not a rule which can be applicable to all the possible countries and the industries. And that is how I look at it.
Thank you. So we will be taking one more question. For other questions, I assure our audience that we will be sharing a Q&A guide. We will interact with our speakers post the event, and we'll ensure that your answers are given. The last question is, are highly experienced persons less adaptive to changes like work environment or business processes?
I'll go on first on this, Vasundhara. It is again a myth, right? We are stereotyping. And as HR professionals, we all hate stereotyping, right? So I don't think this question is something that we should even think of as a possibility, because again, if you possibly think about it, right, you will not really kind of create a situation where most of the people with higher experience bracket will be jobless, right? You will create more problems for their dependents, right? So I think there is no substitute. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I think very well said, Azid. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think we should look at it at the lens of, will experience be a deterrent or a roadblock? Not necessary. It all depends on, again, I know we all know when you say experience, is it, 25 years of incremental learning or 10 years of incremental learning and growth and development of the individual personally and professionally? Or is it one multiplied by, the 10 or 25? Then, of course, the situation you just referred to will happen, because then it's an atrophy, because I have not progressed as an individual, as a professional, I have retrogressed. Then I'd better be disqualified, right?
Yeah, I think
Unlearning and learning is the key. I think that's
it's all in the mind. It's the right attitude and the mind to move ahead. I'm sure we have all adopted to working from home and still getting our deliverables done. So I think that itself speaks a lot for us. So it's a myth, as Majid says. Yes, I agree, it's a myth, and it's all in our mind. So the more flexible we are, the better we succeed.
Just one more point on the similar lines. Yeah, absolutely agree with all the co-panelists that we quoted just now. Just on one point, say, of course, when you're going to relate this question, I just wanted to answer in one simple line. I would say you won't grow. Simple. So full stop. So if you are not adaptable to change, you will not grow. So you will just retire from wherever you are, carrying those things with you. So guys, let's be open to change, be flexible, and move as we get our opportunities.
Okay, thank you. On behalf of Shine.com, I would like to thank our panelists today. Thanks everyone for being a wonderful audience and making the session so much interactive. Thanks to all the panelists for being here today. It was honor to have you all. Recording of the webinar will be shared with all the attendees along with the feedback mail post the event. Thank you everyone. This is Vasundhara signing off now.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Be
Bye-bye.
safe and take care, all of you. Bye-bye. Lovely meeting you all.
Same here. Bye.